Easy people. So we are going to be looking at progressive house today. So I did one of these tutorials where I focused just purely on drum programming, and I think that different styles have different approaches and different techniques that are involved when we're programming drums, and I got a really good response off the back of the raw house one that I did. So I wanted to take a slightly different approach on this one and look at progressive house. And there's a few different things in progressive house compared to raw house, and the way that I tend to think about them is the swing first and foremost, and the types of samples and processing that's used. So when I talk about swing and whether something is straight or swung, I'm talking about whether we're adding something in the groove pool. So one of the characteristics, I think, of this straight, almost electro-y progressive house sound that you get on labels like Haws, this one here, which we're going to look at for some references, is that it's very straight. And by that I mean we're not applying any swing at all. And quite often there's things like 16th hi-hats. You might have breakbeats laid in with certain filtering, and multiple different things that we're going to look at. Like we'll tend to use like congas and bongos and things like that underneath to add a little bit of groove to it. And just because it's straight doesn't mean that we can't create groove and an energy. So we're going to dive in. We're going to just listen to some tunes from this label because I think it's a really good example of like modern progressive house. But we can look back at stuff from like Guy Contact. He's just put a new release out actually, which is really good. Yeah, things on Semi Delicious, but basically we're just looking for that sort of progressive house sound when we're doing this. So let's just get some references on go. So this is Vince Void, the latest, which is really good. So you can hear there's like a breakbeat layered underneath. There's like lots of 16th straight hats in there. Again, we've got those breaks underneath. Let's have a listen to some others. Breaks underneath that one. So you can sort of hear in those tracks the breakbeats are underneath. You've got straight hi-hats. You've got like lots of energy going on and not much swing. So first of all, we're going to look at some sample packs. And what I've done is I've just marked a few from my personal library. If you're looking to make this sound or you want drum sounds that are going to be suitable for this, these packs are basically all that you need. So if we were to go into something like the Guy Contact one, for example, which has been out for a couple of years now, I think, and I've been using it quite a lot. In here, you've got stuff like this. Which are like top loops, which are a really good place to start. You've got these perks, which are really good. Unfortunately, you don't have any individual one-shots though, so you're quite limited with this one. So that's just a good starting point, but we're going to look at how we can make stuff like that ourselves today, using a few different techniques and a few different plugins. And then we've also got the Gearmaster one that they did for Nebula. And in here, in the single hits, you do have some individual drums, which we're going to look at today. Then I recently, only yesterday, bought this Jacopo Latini sample pack, which has got some really nice, suitable bits for this style. We're probably going to dip into this today because it's a new one. And yeah, there's some really nice bits in there. So yeah, and then the Abdul Raeva on Sign series, the new Lee Burton one's really good. There's a Nixie one from Sample Market, which is good. This one that I did for Nebula, which has got some nice full that sort of thing is what we're going to look at. So essentially, we want to create a number of drum racks. So we're going to go with this one, which we'll call kick, and then we're going to create a few different ones. It's just a copy of that. So we'll go clap, And then we'll do open hat, 16th hats, maybe perks. I think that should be good because then we're going to layer in breakbeats and stuff. So we'll start by just getting a kick in there, and it's just standard 4/4. So I'm going to go back into my prog folder. Let's have a little listen to some of these packs. I quite liked the sound of some of these kicks, but let's maybe go with the Abdul Raeva one. It's going in kicks. You want something quite punchy like that, with a bit of top end to cut through. You tend to find that there's not much in the way of like lower, sort of flatter kicks. They're more aggressive and sort of 909 kicks essentially that are just well processed is what you're looking for. And we're just going to put in a 4/4 kick pattern. Now the tempo tends to be around maybe like a 130 area, maybe 132. It might even be much quicker depending on the style of the artist. And we can start. And what we might do is we might increase the length of that. And then towards the end of like a 4-bar phrase, we might have like a double or even triple kick, like, or like something like that works quite nice. Bring down the velocity a bit. Cool, and then we'll go in for the clap. These are nice. Let's see if we've got anything in this Jacopo one shots, claps and snares. See, that's nice. That is a very proggy kind of clap. You've got the 909, but it's like layered with something. So let's try. It's like a tambourine. So already we've got like a nice groove going with that triple kick and nice punchy drums. And then we'll look at these, something like that, like just an open 909 works really well. And we can just go in and do this. Just going to shorten that just a touch here. And then let's try and get maybe some perks in there. Let's just drag all of those in. And then what I'm also going to do is I'm going to see if we can get some other perks in there from these other packs. So going single hits in this one from Lee Burton. These are really what we're looking for. And then we'll start to program in like a bit of a groove from, and this is where we add our groove in. So what I tend to do is I like to add in a number of hits, and then I just keep things looping. And we start to program stuff in. Start from the earlier ones because they were nice. Even something like. So right, I'm going to increase the length because otherwise it's going to get too loopy. So I'm just putting it to 4-bar loop. What I'm going to do is I'm going to copy that over, but we're going to take out that bit. So. Oops, it's not copied over properly there, so we need to nudge that there. And then that goes here like that. Oops. And then, so maybe it's, let's try a few different options. Maybe it doesn't need that second. So yeah, it's just got enough variation so that, you know, it's a little bit different. It sounds pretty dry, this. So we're going to try something like filter step on that. It might not work, but this is the thing. You just try and seeing what you can, because this is basically like a It's a bit like Tantra, and then it's like a modulated filter that's based on this step sequencer, and you can adjust the resonance so it gives it that sort of progressive electronic feel, and you can randomize the pattern. So yeah, you see, I don't think it particularly works well on here. I think those sort of perks need to just be sort of classic sounding. So what we'll potentially do is have a look at the Echo Boy instead. See if we can get some sort of something on there that stops it from being so dry. Let's try. Let's try something else. Quite like that. Adds a bit of a texture, just keep it really subtle. And then we'll get like a plate. I'm using this reverb a lot, this Valhalla plate. I think at this point, what we could potentially start doing is add an audio channel in. I'm going to search my library for breaks. We'll go at effects. See that a bit much, more electro. We just need like a just some standard break beats, loops, breaks. That's more like fills rather than breaks. So I will have some good breaks in here. It's just finding. Yeah, so we'll keep flicking through, finding a nice break in here. See, they're already processed, so they're no good. We want like just some raw breaks. That's quite nice. That's really nice. So I'm just listening to find one that fits well with the 4/4 groove. So first thing I'll do is we need to go in there Remove that bottom end. Then what I'm going to do is go in and just remove some of that. Make it tighter with the transit master, get rid of some of that reverb. That's it. And then there's this really good plugin that's from Arturia's Effects, and it's called the M12 filter. And if we add this onto it, we can start to get some modulation going. And I don't know whether I've covered this in any tutorials before, but it's a bit of a Swiss Army knife, like really cool tool. And you can put anything through it, but it works really well on like filtered breaks and other little percussive elements to create like these interesting textures that have movement rather than it just running underneath. So let's just try and see how it sounds on this break. So you can change the cutoff here. There's two filters running. Got a resonance because it's quite short. Change the dry wet. So that's with it on. You see here we've got a gain staging issue as well, so I'm just going to pull the volume of the clip down so that we're not clipping. We're just underneath there. So that's one. Quite like that. Just get this really nice movement. Then what we'll do is add a reverb after it. I really like that. And now what I think we need is that some like 16th hats that really pick up the energy, and we've got a really cool groove there. And then what I'll do is we'll move into the arrangement view and we'll start to add in some extra little fills, like little snare rolls and things like that that'll help us when we come to the arranging phase of the track. So let's get the prog samples up, and we need some. What works really nice is like some like 808 style hats that are patterned within a 16th, which works really cool. And then we can use some widening effects, maybe some phasing and things like that. That's just going to give that movement that we're looking for. So let's just do that. We're going to go in here. Let's go into the Jacopo one actually, because I'm really liking the sounds in here. So we're going to go closed. We'll drag all of them in. Oh, there's some open hats in the closed folder. We just want those. TR8 hat sounds like something we might want. Shaker hat, short open hat, tambourines work as well. You don't just need to use, all you want is a really short hat, and then you're programming in. See, that's nice actually with the tambourine. But doesn't sound great. So we're gonna so it's like, yeah, all right, but doesn't sound natural. So what we want to do is we want to go in and we want to draw in individually as much as we can these sort of natural. You can hear there. I try and do every other like this, so there is some sort of pattern to it. but like you're basically just making it sound more human. And then I go in afterwards and I apply this MIDI effect called Add Some Random Velocity. What we want to do is we want to go to these and we want to shorten them so they're pretty short. Make sure there's no like... And let's think about adding some phase on there. Maybe go for something like Phase Mistress. You want it quite so. Don't want to overdo it, so rhythmic. Can maybe then go in here and we can pan these left and right. Got that movement. And then there's this plugin called Wider. You don't want to overdo it here either, but that's obviously really wide. Just pushes it out to the sides a little bit. Just something about this that I just want to tidy up a bit. There we go. I think also you can change the pitches of these as well, which might a bit low. So the difference that makes though, having those 16th hats in there. This is without. Put them in. Pull there. And what you want to be looking for, I always try and find this smiley face on the EQ, which we've got. If your kick's not punchy enough as well, you can also use the transient master on that, and I find it you can get really punchy kicks from just pushing the attack. You can also go in here as well. And then you can sort of picture from here where you can start to build a proggy track. I mean, straight away when I think of this sort of sound, I'm thinking of these solid basses. We'll just get a bass in there because it makes sense. Short, that one, we'll make sure it's the same length as that. Side chain that with a kick, the bass. So, right, what we'll do is record that into the arrangement now. So I'm going to just, this is selected, and then I'll just show you how we can do some fills. So let's go. Just a 4-bar loop, so we don't need to record any more in, and then we'll switch over to the arrangement view like this. So what you might have is like a 16-bar section like this that rolls out, and that's fine. But what we might want to do here is sort of And then we can potentially start to think about what we can do to make this a little bit more interesting towards the end of the bar. So you can maybe do like something like this. And maybe like you find little sections in it like that. And just, yeah, even just like reverse things. Oops. Like Control and R. Oops, they're not that. So here, Control R. It's not allowing me to do that, so go in here and reverse it. Yeah, cool. So now you've got this little fill with the break. And what we can also do to just emphasize those fills and those little transitions but into a new section, because then what would happen here at this 17 is we'd bring in another element like a synth or something, or have some sort of switch up. So I'm going to create a MIDI channel. In fact, I'm going to create a MIDI channel, add a drum rack, and I'm going to just then call one crash and one snare. And what we're after is a 909 crash and a 909 snare, basically, so that we can create some fills. It's a particular kind of snare I've got in my head. It's a little bit lower down. That's quite nice, but yeah, something like that. We'll find one. Yeah, something like that. Let's just try that. And then you want like a snare roll. Just, I don't know how long we'll need it for, but let's just do. So here we go. Same again as we did with the hats. Like that. And then we get in here with the like this, and it just adds a level of intensity to the productions. That's a nice one. Yeah, cool. We're going to shorten that a little bit and fade it out, and then yeah, we'll go in here like. Maybe we can find a better crash than that. There's a lot going on in that one, frequency wise. Maybe you just need. And then when we get back in here, what I also like to do is with those snares is you can do it either way with the filter, either a high pass or a low pass. So you can do the sweep like. Or you could do it from this and do. Either works for me. So let's start. We might as well just do a high pass. So start. Add some reverb onto that. And there you have it. That's, you know, you could go in and you can add variation. So you can have little kicks like that, or like you might go in and you might have extra claps in there. Obviously just in little sections, so you'd have to separate it like by going Command J, and then you just keep the rest like this. So you got, what I usually do is colour it differently. And you might have little sections where you drop things out. So hang on a sec. So we might do things like this. And then what you might also do when you do that is like switch things up in the break set. Like that. So yeah, and it's just keeping things interesting. So maybe a crash there actually. It's sometimes nice to do these little fills in the middle when you're not expecting. So there you go. Hopefully that's been useful, and if you've got any questions, as always, just let me know. Thanks for watching, guys.